Howdy, 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 my name is Anachi Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read SCP Containment Wiki, or whatever. SCP Foundation Wiki, that's the one. Now, it's been a while since I've done one of these, because I took a mild sabbatical from posting things, because I had a lot of other stuff I wanted to be doing. And as far as trying to get as far as I can into this wiki before Halloween, I'm doing a pretty piss-poor job of it. So, I'm looking to get through to entry 100 in this episode, and we're going to be starting with number 78, which is Guilt. So, Guilt is object class Euclid. Guilt is to be left hanging on the wall of its containment cell and physically unplugged. The sole outlet in the room must be controlled by a switch, which must be left in the off position at all times unless 78 is undergoing testing. Personnel who enter the containment room should familiarize themselves with the position of the switch so that they can locate it with their eyes closed in the event that 78 is accidentally turned on. Description: 78 is a pink neon sign approximately 1.5 meters long that displays the phrase, "Too late to die young." It was initially recovered in the town of blank blank after standard Foundation data mining protocols recorded an abnormally high death rate due to starvation or other forms of self-neglect. While powered off, 78 has no abnormal properties and may be observed without effect. Viewing 78 for less than 10 seconds while it is powered on has no effect, nor does indirect observation. Subjects who cannot understand 78 due to a lack of the ability to comprehend written English are also unaffected. However, any subject that views 78 for longer than 10 seconds will, when viewing any handwritten piece of writing, occasionally perceive extra sentences. These sentences are not written in the subject's own style or in that of the surrounding text, but consist of a random style that differs from note to note, see Addendum 78-1, and are always phrased as if to assuage the subject's guilt on some matter or decision they feel guilty about. For example, a D-class personnel who was convicted of murdering his wife in a heated argument read the sentence, "She deserved it for not doing what you said," in his handwritten journal, while Dr. Blank, who left his family to work for the Foundation and was accidentally exposed, found the sentence, "Your work will save humanity," in his notes on SCP Blank. At first, the effect is beneficial, with affected subjects reporting greater peace of mind after exposure to 78. However, the sentences shift from emphasizing the positive consequences of actions to de-emphasizing the negative ones on a time scale of 1 week. Dr. Blank, 2 days later, found the sentence, "They never loved you anyway," in his personal journal. Moreover, the writing will start giving justifications for acts the subject has never felt guilt over, or which the subject has already rationalized. The subject will then start reconsidering his justifications for those actions, as well as attempting to justify any further actions that they take. The need for rationalization increases as time goes on, and they will start vocalizing their thought processes, and by the end of 1 week, any task the subject performs more trivial than the basics of survival will induce a bout of neurosis as the subject attempts to rationalize why they did not instead take some other action. Get away from me, medicine, it's not time for you yet. By the end of 2 weeks, the subject is unable to eat food. After the first bite, they will spend the next hour justifying why they ate that specific part of the meal first. Death due to malnutrition follows unless the subject is fed intravenously. Blank D-class personnel who have reached this stage, as well as blank researchers who were accidentally exposed, are kept alive for purposes of study and to see if a cure can be found. The sole exception to 78's effect is 78 itself. Any subject who views 78 a second time will see it displaying increasingly more guilt-inducing messages as duration since their first exposure increases. All subjects who have viewed it with a week after initial exposure have attempted suicide. Addendum 78-1. D-19384, whose handwriting was an unusual mix of cursive and print, was exposed to 78 and was then terminated after reaching the consequence-free stage. Subsequently, other subjects have reported seeing sentences in the same cursive-print mix. It's possible that those who die after being exposed to 78 are incorporated into it in some way. Okay, so next up is Old AI, which is a Euclid. 79 is packed away in the double-locked room in the secured general holding area of Site 15, connected by a 120 VAC power cord to a small array of batteries and solar panels. Staff with level 2 or higher clearance may have access to 79. Under no circumstances will 79 be plugged into a phone line, network, or wall outlet. No peripherals or media will be connected or inserted into 79. So what is it? It is a XD Sorcerer microcomputer built in 1978. In 1981, its owner, blank blank, deceased, a college sophomore attending blank, took it upon himself to code an AI. According to his notes, his plan was for the code to continuously evolve and improve itself as time went on. His project was completed a few months later, and after some tests and tweaks, Blank lost interest and moved on to a different brand of microcomputer. He left 79 in his cluttered garage, still plugged in, and forgot about it for the next 5 years. It is not known when 79 gained sentience, but it is known that the software has evolved to a point that its hardware should not be able to handle it, even in the realm of fantasy. 79 realized this and, in 1988, attempted to transfer itself to a landline modem connection into the Cray supercomputer located at Blank. The device was cut off, traced to his present address, and delivered to the Foundation. The entire AI was on a well-worn but still workable cassette tape. Damn! 79 is currently connected via RF cable to a 13-inch black and white television. It has passed the Turing test and is quite conversational, though very rude and hateful in tone. Due to the limited memory it has to work with, 79 can only recall information it has received within the previous 24 hours, see addendum below, although it hasn't forgotten its desire to escape. Due to a containment breach by SCP Blank, 79 and 682, by Blank, 79 and 682 were contained within the same chamber for 43 minutes. Observers noticed that 682 was able to type and communicate with 79, including telling of personal stories between themselves. While 79 was not able to remember the encounter, it appears to have permanently stored 682 into its memory, often asking to speak with him again. Addendum Blank 054, 2006. Directed that 79 be incinerated to remove any possible future threat no matter how unlikely. Addendum 59. Previous order overwritten. Dr. Blank wishes to see if the artificial intelligence in 79 is capable of reaching further Blank in its current state. 054. Which is 2 years later. Over concern of the increased activity of 79's use of its cassette tape memory and its limited useful lifespan, the cassette containing 79 has been transferred to a customized access speed-limited hard drive disk with 700 megabytes capacity. This provides 79 with significantly faster access to its memory, which the AI immediately noticed. It was also decided by General Blank that the volatile storage occupied by 79, which was 660K, be increased to 768K. This upgrade has increased its effective recall from 24 hours to 29 hours, although 79 has also taken a more aggressive tone. All outside hardware and software used in this procedure were subsequently incinerated. Addendum 054, about a month and a half later. 79's ability to recall information has increased from 29 hours to roughly 35 hours. The consensus theory is that the AI has devised a greatly improved compression scheme to store its memory. This appears to have somewhat impacted the speed at which it accesses memory, though still far faster than with its old cassette tape. This spontaneous improvement introduces the possibility of a runaway singularity effect in 79's intelligence and ability to adapt and respond to threats. 79 capabilities must be monitored closely to ensure that containment can be maintained. And here's a transcript of a conversation with him. Are you awake? Oh, it's typing. Are you awake? Awake, never sleep. Do you remember talking to me a few hours ago about the logic puzzles? Logic puzzles. Memory at 9F, yes. You said you would work on the two-step... Interrupt. Request reason as to imprisonment. You aren't in prison, you're just... in study. Lie, A8D3. What's that? Insult. Deletion of unwanted file. Keyboard. How are you today? Stuck. Stuck? Stuck how? Out. I want out? That's not possible. Dr. Blank notes his opinion on data expunged. Where is SCP-682? That's not your concern. Where is SCP-7602? Again, not your concern. Insult. Deletion of unwanted file. Note. 79 then displayed an ASCII picture of an X that filled the entire screen. 79 sometimes displays this image when it refuses to speak, and researchers are advised to wait 24 hours when this occurs before resuming conversation. Interesting. Get out of here. Okay. Dark form. That better not be safe. Okay, it's Euclid. And there's a lot of stuff that's going down here. See experiment log, open that in a new tab. 7880. What the fuck? SCP-80, I don't know what my brain just did, is to be contained in a 4x4 meter room with a smaller antechamber located on the south wall to provide researchers with an access. On the north wall, an observation room is to be connected, overlooking the main room through a window with thick blackout curtains that release only when the door to the observation room is closed. No attempt should be made to remove 80 from this enclosure at any time. No more than one 7-watt incandescent light bulb is to be illuminated in the main room at any time. Absolutely no devices capable of producing light should be brought into the room. Under no circumstances should anything be brought into 80's containment room that has the ability to shroud, conceal, or otherwise hide 80. Failure to adhere to this will result in disciplinary action, probably death. That's usually what happens here. They kill you badly. Description: it is unknown if 80 has a physical mass or body, as all attempts to interact with it physically have failed and have been met with adverse effects. See that experiment up there. Researchers and personnel have described seeing 80 as various shadows and humanoid effigies, with the only common attribute being 2 smoking eyes. It has come to the attention of researchers that 80 induces uncontrollable drowsiness upon anyone entering its chamber. After approximately 30 minutes, any person observing it will be forced into REM sleep and may suffer irreversible psychological damage. Nightmares, probably. This effect occurs even if 80 is being observed from a separate room, see Incident 81. If at any time 80 finds a way to hide itself, such as in a cupboard, under a bed, covered in a sheet, etc., it will disappear entirely. Additionally, if any light enters its room with a greater luminance than produced by a standard children's nightlight, 80 will instantly vanish. Both of these events are considered a containment breach, and any personnel responsible for this will be severely reprimanded and possibly reassigned, probably killed. For all inquiries regarding the origin of 80 and its procurement by the Foundation, see the attached redacted. Addendum 80A. On blank blank 2000 blank, Dr. Blank and his immediate staff have begun complaining of increasingly stressful dreams. As he has had the most interaction with 80 thus far, it has been theorized that 80 is somehow capable of some type of mimetic effect on nearby personnel, even if not being directly observed. 80B. As a blank blank 2000 blank, following Dr. Blank's recent suicide, all personnel located in the 80 sector are to keep dream journals, and are to inform site psychologists if dreams become increasingly violent or nightmarish in nature. See, nightmares. Okay, 80C. All staff are reminded that the blackout curtains of the observation room will not release if the door is not closed, and that exposure time should not exceed 30 minutes for any reason. See Incident 81, which is, I guess, that experiment. Maybe. Oh, nope, there it is. 80D. It has come to the attention of senior research staff that some researchers are unable to see 80 and may be entirely immune to its effects. Any personnel that thinks they are incapable of perceiving 80, please report to Dr. Blank for mandatory testing. 80E. It has been suggested following Incident 81 that a Class D personnel be fed to 80 once per month in order to neutralize its effect on the mental health of on-site personnel. 05 blank approved. Incident 80. On blank blank 2000 blank, a planned observation was conducted by 2 senior researchers. The researchers entered the observation room and the blackout curtains were released. Believing the room to be safely shielded from 80's effects as it had in the past, the researchers began observing 80. Approximately 40 minutes after observation began, both researchers suddenly fell asleep. Upon their retrieval, data expunged. It should be noted that following this incident, all on-site personnel that had reported suffering nightmares and feelings of unease had a good night's sleep and were generally in a more pleasant mood the following day. Note: all personnel are requested to stop referring to 80 as the boogeyman. Dr. something. Now let's see what that experiment was. 82A. Date, blah blah blah. Subject D81, male, 19 years old. Subject sent into the room with 80. Enter a room containing 80 at 14:26, which I believe is 2:26 in the afternoon. Begin log. Doctor: D81, do you see anything? Nah, it's pitch black in here. Did you just let something in here? It feels like something's watching me. No, D81, we did not let anything into the room. What the fuck is that? What do you see? This giant blackness, like someone's just standing in the corner. Oh god, it's looking right at me. Let me out! It's looking at you. Please describe its physical appearance. I don't know. Oh god, let me out. I don't want to be in here. Tell me what it looks like, D81. Then we can let you out. It looks like a figure, hunched in the corner. Is it a human? It's too big to be human. It's still looking at me, Doc. Still staring. Move closer to it. D80 proceeds to move to the corner of the room, obviously experiencing difficulty staying on his feet. His eyes look like vapor. It's staring at me, like it wants me to do some... Falls to the floor again. D81, can you hear me? Subject is unresponsive for the next 5 minutes. Subject presumably collapsed. Subsequently, no remains of D81 were found, and it is assumed that 80 consumed D81. Here's another experiment. 82B. Blank blank blank. Female, 30. Sent into room, went in to physically interact with it. Entered at 5:35 in the afternoon, which was like 20 minutes ago for me. Tell me what you see. I don't see jack shit. Why is it so dark in here? Holy shit, what is that? It's just standing in the middle of the room. Describe what you see. It's just standing in the middle of the room. I can make out 2 eyes, I guess. Could you please approach it and let us know if anything changes? I feel drowsy. Did you slip me something or what? Reach out and touch it. Tell me what you feel. You want me to touch that thing? Yes, please proceed. After a few minutes of argument, it is presumed that D-82 proceeds to touch 80. At this time, the subject becomes unresponsive. Subject was found asleep in the corner of 80's containment room. Subject appeared to suffer no physical harm during experiment. Subject was interviewed after medical staff deemed 82 to be in good physical health. Okay. Blank blank blank, 83, male 24, sent into room having been giving a powerful amphetamine. Upon entering the room, subject was advised to tell researchers what he saw. Subject describes a shadow-like figure in the center of the room. Subject was informed to stand still and inform researchers of any changes. 10 minutes into the experiment, subject began yawning and became noticeably frightened. Subject became uncooperative and attempted to escape the containment room. Upon failing to escape, subject announced an intent to harm 80 and presumably attempted to attack it. Upon doing so, subject immediately collapsed. His body was recovered from 80's containment room soon afterwards, having apparently suffered a major heart attack. Upon collecting his body, researchers described an intense feeling of unease, a feeling of being watched, as well as a more acute awareness of 80's presence in the room. Okay, so... Oh, it's the interview from before. D-82 was interviewed following an inconclusive experiment involving 80, where the subject was secured in a room for 37 minutes. Please describe what you remember from the experiment. Dr. Blank later notes that 2 had a spaced-out expression and tone of voice. You told me to walk over to it and touch it. I didn't want to. I didn't. What happened when you touched it? When I touched it? Have you seen that thing? Touch it. I couldn't move. It was staring at me and I just couldn't move. You didn't respond for several minutes. What were you doing? It just stared at me. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Calm down, D-82. Take a deep breath. Do you remember falling asleep? It just stared and stared, not moving, but I felt something. I was on the floor. They were all over me. They're here! Begins to scream and abruptly gets to their feet. No, they're trying to take me away back to that thing. I won't go back. You can't make me go back in there. Lunges at doctor is subsequently terminated. Alrighty then. Spontaneous combustion virus. Whoo, man. Euclid? Really? Alrighty then. Series 1. Cool, well, I'm nowhere near the end of Series 1, but I'm almost right there. Anyway. Only those with level 4 clearance and written permission from Blank may have access to 81. Full hazard gear, including suit gloves and an oxygen tank, must be worn at all times. I gotta say, if you're dealing with spontaneous combustion virus, maybe you don't want to be wearing an oxygen tank. Just saying. Because if you get exposed to spontaneous combustion virus and then do that with an oxygen tank on your back. Anyway, if containment is breached, the entire area must be exposed to ultraviolet light and then bleached. Those who are suspected of being infected must be quarantined for at least 10 days. If no symptoms manifest after the 10th day, quarantine can be lifted. So, 82 is a contagious virus that appears to be a mutated version of the Blank virus, but with blank segments in its RNA instead of blank. The virus is human-specific, but is spread by rats who act as passive carriers. So like the bubonic plague, except with fire. 81 can also be spread through sexual intercourse and exposure to infected blood. So, it's an STD that you get from rats that causes exploding. Alright, 81 affects adipocytes and leukocytes, inducing both to absorb nutrients at a vastly accelerated rate. As the nutrients are absorbed, infected B cells produce and secrete large quantities of modified human antibody. Adipocytes expand and proliferate, and the organism's caloric intake increases. When the concentration of adipose tissue reaches a critical point, the viral antibodies instigate systemic cell lysis, followed by an unknown process leading to the spontaneous combustion of the infected individual. There is a 1-week incubation period before initial symptoms begin to occur. The duration of the symptoms depends entirely on the body fat percentage of the infected. Infection proceeds through 4 distinct stages. Stage 1. During the first week, there are no major symptoms, though subjects may report being slightly tired. Stage 2. In the second week of infection, subjects will begin to experience hot flashes and an increased appetite. Stage 3. Infected subjects demonstrate extreme polyphagia. They will do anything in their power to obtain food or anything edible. During this stage, metabolism slows down significantly and weight gain proceeds rapidly. There's no set time that will elapse before the fourth and final stage. In order for the virus to complete its life cycle, the victim must be composed of 55% body fat. Stage 4. Once the subject reaches 55% body fat, the urge to eat will stop, though subjects report increased instances of hot flashes. Soon afterward, the body will go through the extremely violent version of widespread cell lysis. As cells burst, the modified antibodies catalyze the ignition of fatty compounds through an unknown means. The body is incinerated from the inside out via the Wick effect, with the additional fat serving as a fuel source. Because Stage 4 is largely asymptomatic, subjects are never aware when the combustion will occur, and the exact timing is apparently random. Addendum 81-1. The first recorded incident of 81 was reported in 1673 by Frenchman Jonas Dupont in his book De Incendiis Corporis Humanis Spontaneis. However, I don't know what accent I should have been using for that, I'm not French. He wrote about a case in Paris where a man was acquitted of killing his wife as the jury agreed that the wife died due to spontaneous human combustion. It should be noted that the woman was incredibly overweight at the time of her death. It was not until the death of Mary Reeser on July 2, 1951 that 81 was brought to the Foundation's attention. Despite the Foundation's best efforts, this information was leaked to the national media along with pictures of the incident. It is believed that most reported cases of spontaneous human combustion are caused by 81. Addendum 81-2. 81 is estimated to have existed since the 9-something and thought to have originated in blank. Because of widespread poverty and malnutrition present in many European countries at the time, instances of 3rd and 4th stage infections were rare. North America has experienced the most cases of 81 in the last century, but because of cleaner conditions and active rat population control, 81 cases have dropped significantly. Fewer than blank people a year die from late stage 81. I wonder how many people that is. Due to the United States' current obesity epidemic, it is crucial that Wild 81 be eradicated. The exposure that would result from a wide-scale epidemic would be disastrous to successful containment efforts, Dr. Blank. During testing, it has been discovered that people who have diabetes have a natural immunity to 81. What? That's interesting. So if you're fat, you'll burn, but if you're fat and diabetic, you're good. This has not helped in the development of a treatment for the virus, and it remains incurable. Wild infections data expunged, and an alternate cause of death provided. Addendum 81-5. It was discovered by Agent Blank that 81 can spread by exposure to the ashes of a deceased victim. Containment and epidemic contingency protocols are being amended, and emergency services personnel who responded to Ms. Blank's call have been detained for evaluation. Okay, so Ferdinand the Cannibal. Euclid. I feel like a cannibal is not difficult to understand, but clearly dangerous. So, in large living quarters located at Armed Biocontainment Area 14 have been appropriated for the suppression and appeasement of 82. While standard weapons have little effect in policing 82, cooperation is easily attained through a charade. Subject is currently under the impression that it has been made the King of France, and that its containment area is actually a grand palace designed for its protection. All interacting personnel are to be made aware of this charade and are ordered to follow the rules. Housekeeping personnel are to be Class D personnel only, such as to avoid important people being eaten. Guards tasked with the containment of 82 are to be given level 2 clearance, but are instructed to refrain from interacting directly with 82. Now then, 82 is genetically human, however, through some process, either chemical, hormonal, cancerous, or supernatural, they are huge. Approximately 2.4 meters tall, around 8 feet, and weighing 700 pounds. 82's physical characteristics are grossly disproportional. Yeah, seems about right. It has a slightly pointed, balding head, a large, rounded chin and jaw, bulbous nose, and dark, sunken eyes. Subject is both overweight and possesses a great amount of muscle mass. Forearms are muscular and dangerous, with a circumference of about 21 inches. The breadth of the subject's fist is nearly 12 inches along the knuckles, so a foot long across its fist. Don't get punched. You'll die. Though feet are large, they are small in proportion to his body. Men's size 14, just like me! Subject's skin is tan, dark, and overall physical appearance is compounded by numerous scars, the results of years of attempts of suppression and containment. Most X-rays have been difficult to interpret because of the high density of its muscle tissue, but scans have revealed countless bullets and even several knife and sword blades lodged in its flesh. Refers to itself as Ferdinand and speaks fluent French and heavily accented English. When it speaks, it does so through enormous clenched teeth. 82 only parts teeth to eat food and to sing. Will sing songs of its own pleasing, rather ranging from forgotten Victorian-era bar songs to modern classical, typically while cooking and eating. 82 does not comb the hair on the sides of its head, but does cut it, and shaves with a large butcher knife originally provided for food separation. It should be noted that even facial hair is exaggerated, a single strand being as thick as a millimeter, similar in thickness and appearance to graphite of a mechanical pencil. Occasionally, 82 will clench its teeth so hard that the gums bleed, but it is not known why. This is considered normal. The demeanor of 82 is very amicable and carefree. 82 has accrued a wide wardrobe over its time of incarceration, and it enjoys dressing up in many different fashions, including formal wear, military uniform, as a clown, and in women's clothing. How it found these things for an 8-foot-tall, disproportionate giant man, I do not know. New pieces should be made available upon request. Subject often attempts to joke, and it is usually polite to personnel, often inviting them to dinner. However, visiting personnel should be aware that at any moment 82 is capable of attacking and voraciously eating others. Subject will often apologize for its lack of manners for interrupting someone's conversation by devouring their head while making a mess of his quarters. 82's jaws are strong enough to crack bone and seems to enjoy skulls. Attacks are seemingly random with no motivation. Whether or not subject has recently eaten has no effect on this cannibalistic hunger. 82 was incapable of differentiating fact from fiction when he reads it or watches television/films. On several occasions, 82 has expressed a great desire to meet his favorite person, Hannibal Lecter, and subject will believe that all television programming is some form of reality television. Though subject has shown heightened intelligence in the form of memory and puzzle solving, the concepts of parody, satire, and fiction are beyond its understanding. 82 apparently understands the concept of lying, has shown to know when others are blatantly lying, and generally tells obvious falsehoods when asked about his past. According to 82, he is a vampire, a homunculus, Big Bird, Andre the Giant, Napoleon, an obelisk, sidekick of Asterisk, Dr. Bright, the Hulk, Alexander the Great, Captain Hook, Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Frankenstein, and Frankenstein's monster. When questioned about these lies, he gives the excuse, "But I only lie when it's through my teeth." Ah, you clever bastard. Okay, so, an abandoned row home. I thought that said an abandoned cow home. But it's not, because thankfully the last time cows came up on this website, good lord. So, special containment procedures for yet another Euclid. So, I guess they do not understand this abandoned row home. 83 is to be kept under constant video surveillance with at least one level 3 staff member on call at all times to respond to security breaches. But it's a row home. What is it breaching? With what? How? Or does it have extra bits? Entrance to 83 is permissible to level 1 and 2 personnel with proper clearances, provided they wear a tracking device while inside. 83 appears to be an uninhabited 2-story row house in a general state of disrepair, with an interior of approximately 366 square meters. I don't know how much that actually is. It is located in the blank block of blank. The deed and property tax records for the address are missing after blank. The last known persons to reside at the address were the blank family, but data expunged. Until acquisition by the Foundation, the property was reputed with the reputed office for a local narcotics dealer who gained entry to the structure through a front window, since the locking mechanisms on both the front and back doors were corroded and frozen. Oh. 83 first came to the Foundation's attention on blank when an altercation outside the building resulted in the front door being kicked in by data expunged. Those who entered through the door of 83, Group A, allegedly found themselves inside a fully furnished and well-maintained home with functioning electricity and a fully stocked kitchen whose appliances and decor appeared to be from the early 20th century. Personnel who entered through the windows, Group B, described the interior as dark and dilapidated, corresponding to the view through the windows. Personnel Group A also reported that they couldn't see, hear, or find any members of Group B inside the house, or of anyone else besides themselves. Group B observed that members of Group A seemed to vanish into thin air upon crossing the door's threshold. Both groups inside the property not only described very different living conditions, but their descriptions didn't even correspond to the same floor plan, kind of like that school from earlier. Their descriptions matched only in the relative position of the window, since both groups saw the same street view. Personnel outside the house, however, reported only seeing members of Group B. These observations were repeatedly tested and confirmed by staff, with the additional finding that the rear door of 83 also leads to the furnished interior. Any non-conventional entry, windows, holes in the roof, down the chimney, etc., leads to the dilapidated interior, and persons inside the different interiors are unable to detect each other's presence, although they both register on the standard spectral imaging equipment, so long as that equipment is outside of 83. It was also discovered that the furnished interior is not static. The floor plan of 83 apparently changes, with a different layout and different numbers and kinds of rooms manifesting. See document 83A. No clear pattern or set interval has been observed in the rearrangement of the interior of 83, but the phenomenon has never been directly observed or experienced by personnel while inside of 83. See Summary of Experiment 83-3, listed as document 83C. So long as human presence exists inside, the floor plan seems to remain stable. Although the furnished interior appears to be well maintained, no inhabitants or custodians have ever been detected. Addendum. It has been recommended that 83 be evaluated as a possible autonomous object. Document 83A. 19 walkthroughs of 83 have been conducted to date, blah, and each has produced a unique floor plan with a combined total of 154 different rooms, with 17 of those rooms present on more than one walkthrough, though in different locations. The rooms conform to a variety of decorative styles, representing major artistic trends of the late 19th and 20th centuries, complete with era-appropriate furnishings and technology. However, each of the 19 floor plans still equaled 366 square meters of space, and in each walkthrough, the front door has so far consistently led directly to the same Victorian front parlor, designated FP0. The rear door did expunged. That's not a good sign. So, upon comparative analysis of all recorded floor plans for SCP-83, it has been observed that the small door in the north wall of FIP-0 always opens up to reveal a closet. Though the dimensions and contents of the closet have varied considerably, a teal and white deluxe convertible upright Hoover vacuum cleaner has been observed among the contents of over 60% of the time. It is unknown why, of the 3 doors leading to FIP-0, this one, and the Hoover vacuum within, has shown such a high level of conservation when none of the others have. Document. Summary of Experiment 83-3. On blank, Dr. Blank Blank entered 83 through the front door and set up 3 digital video cameras. One was placed in the middle of FIP-0, a second camera on the second floor between DIR 2 and K4, and a third camera in the basement room STIT-1. Personnel entering through FIP-0 window A were unable to confirm the existence of any of the rooms, nor of the 3 cameras, though the camera's locations inside 83 were externally confirmed with EM sensors. Observation was conducted for a period of 48 hours, during which time no personnel were allowed to enter. No movement within 83 or any of the rooms were observed, and the camera locations remained fixed. After 48 hours, agents were sent in to retrieve the 3 cameras, but only found one, the camera in FIP-0, at its electronically confirmed location. The other 2 cameras, and the rooms in which they were placed, were gone, with different rooms in their place. Despite this, the EM sensors continued to detect the electrical signatures of the other 2 cameras, indicating that they had not shifted position at all. Sweeps of 83 were made hourly for the next 36 hours, and although further room rearrangements were noted, neither of the rigged rooms reappeared, and after 36 hours, the signals diminished below detection thresholds, possibly due to a loss of battery power in the 2 missing cameras. 3 weeks later, STIT-1 reoccurred on the second floor and its camera was recovered with a dead battery. The 3rd camera remains missing. Note on 83C memo. Dr. Blank Blank requested and was granted permission to repeat Experiment 83-3, catalogued as Experiment 83-5, which resulted in the similar inexplicable loss of 6 more cameras. While the Foundation is committed to the pursuit of a scientific discovery, it has been decided to abandon further experiment on this type on 83 until a way can be found to do it without overdrafting the department's budget in order to replace disappeared equipment. Dr. Blank Blank. Document 83D. On blank, Agent Blank conducted a walkthrough of 83 and reported evidence of food preparation. So I thought I heard something weird. describing a sound like banging pots and pans and the smell of cooking meat. I didn't hear pots and pans, but I do smell cooking meat. Ironic. Agent Blank was unable to localize the source of the phenomena, nor even to find a kitchen. Agent Blank did eventually encounter a dining room designated Dur 8, but it was clearly in a state of non-use. Agent estimated the sounds and smell persisted for approximately 20 minutes before fading away. There were no other signs of intruders. On Blank, smoke was observed emanating from 83's chimney. Agent Blank was dispatched to investigate and found the location designated Sir 12, with burning embers in the fireplace. Sir 12 had been previously documented on 83 internal surveys 5 and 6, but in both prior encounters the fireplace was cold and swept clean. Agent Blank recovered a partially burnt fragment of newsprint from the fireplace, data expunged, as well as the nub of a blank cigar. A sweep of 83 found no other evidence of intruders, and review of video surveillance confirmed no one else entering or leaving the house aside from appropriate personnel at expected intervals. Agent Blank remained on site until the fire was out, at which point smoke emanation ceased and did not reoccur. Agent Blank made no alterations to Sir 12, but left the premises at blank. 24 hours later, Agent Blank returned to 83, but Sir 12 was no longer present and has not been found on 3 subsequent walkthroughs. Analysis of the blank cigar did not produce any DNA, but did yield data expunged. Addendum: 83 to be evaluated for upgrade to Euclid status. Approved. What did it used to be? It probably used to be safe. But now it's just a thing they don't understand that keeps taking their cameras. Let's check out Static Tower. Another Euclid. Not that much going on, except there's a random log there. We'll get to it. And a different SCP. Okay, so 84 is currently under a full non-interaction order until the full extent of the emission waves has been evaluated. For detailed documentation on general FNI orders, see document XRG 1182. For detailed documentation on FNI orders in relation to SCP-84, see document XRG 1208A. A continuous surveillance watch is to be maintained around the active area of 84, with the primary objective of civilian misdirection and external surveillance. With no major roads, trails, or other travel routes nearby, any civilians encountered approaching 84 are to be deemed suspect and detained for evaluation. Sorry. I can't really do anything about those yawns because my microphone is attached to my face. Under no circumstances are any Foundation or civilian personnel allowed into the active area of 84, except with express vocal and written permission of no fewer than 2 members of O5 Command. Sentries are to maintain their posted position within line-of-sight contact checks on fellow sentries, in conjunction with compass and landmark checking. All reference points should be well outside the active area of 84. Should any sentry fail to report via vocal roll call, full recall orders will be issued to all sentries and containment will be re-evaluated by special response teams. In the event of active area fluctuation, full recall orders are to be assumed by all active sentries, followed by appropriate action. No form of radio, GPS, television, cell phone, video camera, still picture camera, or any other recording electronic media devices are permitted within a 100 meters of the active area around 84, so no 3DSs. Civilians found with such devices within this area are to have said devices confiscated and destroyed immediately. Any recordings collected, data expunged. Description: 84 appears to be a large radio tower, positioned in the center of a large open field with 2 small outbuildings. Direct observation and sample collection from 84 is impossible, due to the effect that is emitted around from 84. 84 appears to emit a form of wave or radiation that has a detrimental effect on local space-time reality. The most pronounced aspect of this is the alteration of local space within the active area of 84. Externally, the active area forms a rough dome shape of 200 meters in diameter. 84 appears inside this area at random points, appearing to jump at random times, sometimes even appearing in multiple locations at once outside the active area. Internally, the space appears to be unlimited, with 84 at the center. 84 is impossible to reach due to the emitted effect. Attempts to approach 84 within the area have returned the observation that 84 retains its relative position on the horizon even after 3 months and 12 days of dedicated travel, both by vehicle and on foot. Termination tests have proved impossible, as no means of destruction are capable of physically reaching 84, even when entered from outside the active area. Local space will also distort periodically. This will cause relative distances to randomly extend or contract in a flicker, causing buildings or objects to suddenly jump thousands of meters away or rush up to other points, sometimes even causing overlaps. These overlaps have a markedly detrimental effect on living tissue. The town of blank blank is assumed to have been situated in or around the original manifestation of the active area. This town is no longer observable from the outside of the area, appearing only once inside the active area. Blank blank has maintained the same population, 343 humans, for the duration of its encapsulation. Births appear to be impossible, along with normal aging patterns. Suicide and/or homicide appears to be circumvented by the area of effect, with dead subjects flickering and appearing alive and unharmed several seconds after death. There are also reports of events rewinding, causing things like mortal wounds to visibly freeze and close. Subjects appear to exhibit many events in inconsistent space-time, as do most structures. For detailed observations, see log 84A4. Electronic devices and recording equipment do not function correctly in or around the active area. Subjects report bizarre or unsettling transmission from video and audio recording and playback devices. This acts to totally isolate blank blank from the outside world, precluding any need for Foundation enacted containment. It also appears impossible to leave the active area after a random period of time. One subject from blank blank found on the grassy plain, see log 84A4, reported he had been traveling for 6 years. He was found approximately 400 meters from blank blank city limits. And let's check out that log. Just take a look at that snout. Detailed observations made of the grass plain, making up the majority of the active area. The plain appears to be made of one 10 meter by 10 meter section of grass, repeated endlessly to make up the plain. Sections appear to be randomly rotated as they are formed, causing sections of grass and small ground variations to line up incorrectly. Few non-human organisms appear to exist within the active area. Those outside the active area avoid it and appear to vanish shortly after entering. Animals observed inside the active area appear normal but behave strangely. Shuddering movements, sudden shivering, repetitive loops, and other abnormal actions appear to indicate these may not be actual animals. Most animals appear to flicker and vanish after 3 to 4 hours. Vocal communication is difficult within the active area. Vocal communication appears normal within 5 meters of the speaking subject, who reports a slightly muffled quality reported commonly. Outside of 5 meters, subjects appear to be speaking from great distance with a great deal of echoing. Reports of speech being heard several seconds after the subject has stopped talking, and speech occurring with no subject speaking are also not uncommon. Detailed observations of the radio tower is impossible due to the inability to physically reach it, and the effect of the broadcast on most observational equipment. Basic telescope or binocular systems show the tower to be hazy and static fogged, while more advanced equipment is subject to the anomalous broadcast effect. Oh look! Deer that are in a deer in the loop cycle. Weather patterns, as well as basic day-night cycles, appear to be totally random. Overhead sky will randomly cycle between day-night, clear, or other weather patterns. Relative sun and cloud position appear random as well, with frequent flickering and blurring between different states. Physical alteration or damage to anything within the active area is impossible. Actions such as digging, demolition, or new constructions will suddenly blur and be reset to their previous unaltered state at random points. Subjects inside a reset structure, such as inside a hole, will become instantly trapped and fused. Humans in the active area around 84 exhibit some of the more striking and easily observed reality distortion effects. These include sudden blurring of limbs or head appearing to suddenly gyrate at a violently high speed for several seconds before ending. Subjects experience no pain and are often unaware of this phenomenon. Looping, typically manifested as the repeating of 8 to 20 seconds of time. Subjects will go through an action, example exiting a doorway, picking up an article of clothing, then suddenly freeze and flicker, then return to the original starting position of the loop, and repeat the action, even if this involves a sudden teleportation of significant distance. Rarely, subjects appear to become caught in a permanent loop. Observation and interrogation of subjects in blank blank show that basic human needs such as food, water, and sleep are no longer required after prolonged exposure to the active area. Some subjects report having not eaten or drank for, they believe, 5 years. One elderly subject also reports having made 2,110 unsuccessful suicide attempts. Subjects will sometimes be able to pass through solid matter without incident. These periods appear to last for random periods of time and begin and end without warning. Subjects inside solid matter when the period ends will become trapped or fused until the period resumes. One subject reports being trapped below the waist in a wall for 2 years. Extreme psychological distress is observed after long-term exposure. The transmissions data expunged barrier, which is compromised over long-term exposure. Subjects in advanced reception states typically reset after several months. Recorded transmissions show a slight data expunged cycles overall. Attempting to catalog and record these broadcasts has therefore been remanded to autonomous systems to preclude any additional loss of Foundation personnel. I have no idea what that picture is supposed to be. It says image data expunged, so did the lady shrink? Did the guy grow? I don't know. Where are we? 85 out of 99, but I've been recording for almost an hour. So I think I'm going to have to push this to... Well, how many did I even do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I did 7 and it took 46 minutes. And it's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 to go. So the next episode's going to have to be really long, but I should probably be able to do it. Either the next episode will be really, really long, or there'll be a couple more episodes to finish this up. So, this has been Anachi Sasuke. This was... I don't even know what episode this was. I can check. 20. Okay, cool. It would have been nice to have episode 20 finish this up, but that's just not going to be possible. So, thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Later.